Okay, so I'm doing this Gridiron Dice and Drives tutorial for the second time. I had recorded my next game as a tutorial showing. I have a subscriber who wrote me an email last night. He's very excited about the Gridiron books, but he's nervous about chart flipping and he's really nervous about the difficulty. So I said, never fear. I wrote him an email describing exactly how the game works, how it functions, and assured him the charts, this minimal chart flipping. And I told him, don't worry, when I play my game this morning, I will do it as a tutorial. And so I did, but again, for the umpteenth time in my career, I have failed to see the little red dot. So I hit the button and I start, shut everything down and go over and plug it into the computer to upload it to my YouTube channel. And I discovered there's no recording, and I realized I had not seen the little red dot. So I'll just talk about the game as a tutorial here instead. It might be better anyway to just be focused on the game. But I will tell you that Portsmouth, 1-1 Portsmouth, went into Raleigh, 0-1 Raleigh in the game. And Raleigh at home, both teams suffering defensive edges, so they were both in a defensive struggle. Raleigh at home took a 6-0 lead at halftime, and they come through the third quarter 0-0. 6-0. And at that point, I thought Raleigh is going to win their first game at home. Portsmouth will fall to 1-2. Raleigh will be 1-1. And then Portsmouth in the fourth has a dramatic comeback, kicking 2 field goals to settle for a tie. And again, back in the day, a tie was not a bad thing. A tie means you duked it out, and both teams, and there was no clear winner. But Portsmouth makes this dramatic fourth quarter comeback, kicking 2 field goals, and stealing Raleigh's first victory of the year in a brilliant defensive struggle. We had a turnover, we had a catastrophic punt. It was they sound like they dull as dirt, right? You hear the 3-0, 7-0, 6, and I know there are people out there going, Jesus, that is boring football. Well, by today's standards, when you're accustomed to teams moving the ball all around the field and scoring 42 points, sure, it's going to sound that way. But if you think about it as competition and how hard it was to move the ball, and how obviously how conservative coaches were back in the day. I mean, punting the ball on first and second down back in early football, because it was more like rugby in that field position, you weren't going to throw the ball if you could help it, right? So I get it. But for me, it's unbelievably good football. I mean, it's the kind of football that no other football game simulates well. I mean, if you want to play, again, and I know it's a niche, and you want to play the 20s, 30s, the 40s accurately, this is the choice. It's just so fun, so fun. All right, enough of that. And ironically, I had put all this away because I'd recorded my game and my tutorial, and I was going to upload it while I was playing my big country league game off camera. So I just got all this out, was setting it up when I realized that I had to bring the camera back over here and do the tutorial as a walkthrough. All right, so first things first, Dell's game book is all charts. Everything is charts. Okay? But don't be fooled by that. His table of contents is on a chart. His quick start, how you set up, and all the rules for just setting up is on a chart. So Dell's aesthetic, everything is on a chart. So I love it. The aesthetic is consistent as hell from the beginning to the end. It's brilliant. Okay? Most of it is rule information. It's just, here's a stage, a play stage for standard dynasty, right? These are just telling you what the dynasty stuff is. And then he's got a paradigm of what you need to do. So they're rules set up as charts. Okay, but for the person worried that this game is a lot of charts that you got to do, back here in the beginning, if you're using the early era chart right here, you'll almost 90% of the game happens right here on the early era matrix. That's going to be a defensive edge for a team, even edge for a team, or an offensive edge for a team. You're going to roll 3 dice. You're getting the difference between the offensive die and the defensive die. That's a +5. So let's say it's even edge team, +5, touchdown. Right? That's it. And now what does this 1 mean? Well, this 1 can be ignored, or you can use it to decide how your team scored a touchdown. In my rules, that would be a pass touchdown for all the teams in the game. Most teams are going to run the ball in for a touchdown on a 2+, 3+, 4+. If it's modern era, there's going to be like 5+, 4+, 5+. because they're going to throw as many touchdowns as they're going to run for touchdowns. That would definitely be a passing touchdown for my teams. So this would be a rare pass touchdown in my league. Okay, so that's it right there. And I didn't even have to leave this chart. And I've got a touchdown, and I know from this die, the fast die it's called, the third die, tells you all the other results. Okay, so the most that's going to happen to you here is it's going to say punt. Punt, you need no other lookup. It's literally a punt, and the other team gets the ball with a +0 field position. So the only time I'm going to need to look at other charts are on a disaster. Well, disaster is pretty easy. If I had rolled a -7 on this, if this had been a 1 and this had been a 6, and we were we were a depleted offense and bad field position, -7 or worse, it would be OD. And then I would look at this 1, and right here, the OD is right here on the very next page. So I'm looking here, OD, 1, defensive TD. Oh, shite. So we had what's called an offensive disaster. A strip sack fumble. The opposing team rips the ball loose from my quarterback, scoops it up, and rumbles 10 yards into the end zone for a touchdown. That's how easy that chart is. So what is all of this? This is just telling you, it's a legend. It's telling you what a touchdown means. It's telling you what a bad punt means. It's telling you what a catastrophic bad punt means. So this is just a legend for what might occur. Your OD charts here. Okay, so as I said before, all the charts are, again, what makes this so well done is Dell steps you through every phase of the game for learning. However, and it is really efficient, super efficient, and super easy to play. After a couple of, I would say after a half, maybe a full game, you're going to be completely fluent in this. So, if you're using the early era matrix, I only have to flip one page for all other information. So no man's land is here, productive drive is here, field goal range is here, red zone's here, a bad punt is here, and turnover is here, right? So an OD is a disastrous offensive. It's different than just a turnover, right? Okay. Bad punt / turnover is right here. It can be either. It could be a bad punt, or it could end up being a turnover. And so you have to check one of those. If it says PD, productive drive, I'm looking at my field goal rating, and I'm looking at my fast die to see if we made the field goal, or if we punted the ball, or if we missed the field goal. If we drive into FGR, field goal range, I'm going to compare my place kicker to the D to see if we made the kick. So field goal range, so this is where Dell's genius is also. Dell breaks the game down into productive drive, field goal range, red zone, or touchdown, right? So what's a productive drive? Well, every offense has a different attitude about productive drives, right? A productive drive for one team is going to be different than another, because my place kicker can kick a 64-yard field goal easily. So a productive drive for him is going to be different than, let's say, a team with a place kicker that's accurate from 32 yards. Well, they're going to have to their productive drive is going to be different. So productive drive is based on your place kicker, which is genius, because what my productive drive is for having the best kicker in the league is going to be only out to about your 45 for me to even give it a shot at kicking a field goal, right? But field goal range, you'd think, wait a minute, those are the same. They're not. Productive drive could end in a punt or a missed field goal or a made field goal. Field goal range, well, every team has a field goal range. If they know that their kicker is efficient in a particular position, when you drive into field goal range, there's no question you're kicking the field goal. So productive drive, your team might punt because they basically don't quite get there, or the coach says, nah, we're not going to risk it. It's a little on the edge of our place kicker's efficiency, so we're going to punt. But field goal range, there's no question you're going to kick it. It's just, do you make it or not? And then, of course, we have red zone. Well, once you're in the red zone, there's no question you're going for it, or it's a touchdown, right? So Dell has a red zone that's assumed to be a 4-down territory. So his red zone is not a traditional, like at the 20, are you in the red zone, teams at the 18 are going to kick it on 4th down, right? This is more like a goal line offense. This is more like, hey, this is 4-down territory. It's 4th and 1 from the 1. We're going for it. And then he's got no man's land right here. What's no man's land? Well, that's that place on the field where you're too far to kick a field goal, but you're too close to punt. You got to decide: do you try to pin them in with a coffin corner, or do you go ahead and try the long field goal? And so he's got these 4 brilliant field position phases. So Dell's game is all about field position. That would be how do I describe grid zone? If you would have asked me when I was proofreading it and helping him refine the charts and tweak the engine, and I was writing the write-up and giving him the fictional league and teams, and I was play testing it. If somebody had said, what is grid zone about? I'd say, oh, it's a fast play. But in playing it, once everything was done, I could relax and just enjoy this game. Dell nails a fast play field position game brilliantly. He really does. He does. And it's efficient. But again, for those worried about chart flipping, one chart here, and you're only going to go to this. You're going to flip one page for any other charts that might be required. Okay. If you're using the modern scoring chart, that's right here. So you can just hold these 2 pages together. And I'm rolling to score on this chart, and I can go back here to these. So it's really one page flip. And then again, kickoff here. Kickoff rule is so easy that once you decide to use the kickoff rule, you'll memorize the kickoff instantly. A 1 is bad, a 6 is good, everything else is average. So kickoff is super easy. If you roll a 1, that's bad news. If you roll a 6, that's good news. If you roll 2 to 5, that's just normal. So kickoff, you don't even need the chart, right? And then there's the weather chart, which you're only going to use pregame for weather. Okay. So again, worried about rules. Well, all of these charts use secondary ratings. So your scoring charts are determined pregame by a matchup. So my offense has a strength. Your defense is average. I would have an offensive edge for the entire game. That will never change. Even if there's an injury to my offense, I will always have the edge. So you have to view injuries as not affecting how well your team plays or coaches offense or defense. It's going to have an effect on how effective they are when they're beat up. So how can I best explain this? How can my team have an offensive edge and be depleted on offense? They come in depleted from injuries in a past week. They're depleted on offense, giving the opponent, giving me a negative modifier on my offensive die roll. But I still come into the game with an offensive edge. Yeah, Dell's injuries do not affect your strengths. So if you're a strong offensive team, injuries cannot make you a weak offensive team. If you're a strong defensive team, injuries cannot make you a weak defensive team. But a strong offensive team is not going to be as efficient. So imagine it this way, and this is the best way to make my point. A depleted and beat up New England Patriot team that still had Tom Brady. So imagine, what is an offensive edge team? Well, that's a team with Tom Brady under center, even if their halfbacks out and their best receivers out. They still got Tom Brady, right? Okay, so maybe that helps. Or imagine their best left tackle's injured, but they still got Aaron Rodgers. They still got, they got Aaron Jones, or what is his name? Jones, the halfback for the Packers. But they've lost their left tackle and their tight end. They still got Aaron Rodgers, and they still got Jones in the backfield, right? They're a strong offensive team. So the only thing that can make your strong offensive team even is a strong defensive opponent. Same thing, a strong defense is never reduced. They can be depleted, which gives a bonus to the offensive roll, right? So the only time you modify this matchup die, you roll all 3 dice every time. This die, of course, is all other charts. Your matchup die is going to be modified by field position. You're either going to have good field position, giving you a bonus, or you're going to have bad field position, giving you a negative, or you're going to be 90% of the time, you're going to be in normal field position. So there'll be no change on the die roll. If you are depleted on offense, you're going to subtract 1 from your offensive roll. If you are facing a depleted defense, you're going to get a bonus to your offensive roll. It is incredibly genius, and it is efficient as hell. And again, once you play one game, you're gonna completely be comfortable with the game. What else? So that's it. I mean, there's your answer for chart flips. I'm using the early matrix, and I only have to flip back to get all the other charts right here. And I never have to flip this way unless I'm looking up weather or the kickoff. And the kickoff I've got memorized already. Got memorized after the first game, right? Kickoff. And that's it. Very, very simple. Adele again. And then again, all these other charts, what are called secondary charts, use secondary ratings. Secondary ratings are field goal, ball security, takeaway, so ball security and takeaway are only used on the turnover danger charts. So the only time ball security and defensive takeaway show up are on the turnover, what's called bad punt turnover chart or danger chart. Bad punt, that's when you use punt, coverage, and the opponent's return game. So the only time you're going to use punt, coverage, and returning is when you're doing a bad punt check, right? So those secondary ratings are used on this page, page 43, turnover bad punt chart. Your field goal chart is used for productive drive. Your secondary field goal rating is used for productive drives and for field goal range. And then your no man's land and your fast die are just this dice result. Okay, so again, if a no man's land comes up, I'm only concerned about this. This will tell me what happens, and then again, secondary ratings can come up on that chart to tell me whether it's something a field goal is made or missed. Very simple. If it's a productive drive, I'm going to look at my field goal rating and this roll and see whether we produce points. If it's field goal range, I'm going to look at my field goal rating, and I'm going to look at this number and see if we made it or missed it. If it's a red zone result, I'm going to look just at this number and nothing else, and that's going to be a touchdown, right? That's it. If it is a bad punt or turnover, I'm going to look at this die, and it's going to tell me whether it's a bad punt or a turnover. This would be a turnover. Then I'm going to look at ball security versus takeaway. That's going to give me a range from -2 to +2, or -2 to +2. And I'm going to look it up on this chart. It's going to tell me whether I actually turned it over or whether it was just a punt. We ended up just punting the ball, but it was almost a turnover. So it is that simple, right? So most of the charts in the game will use a secondary rating or a matchup of secondary ratings and the fast die. The main charts are going to use margin and maybe modifiers. If a team is depleted, you're going to modify this. If your field position is plus or a bonus, a negative or a plus, you're going to modify that, right? But that's it. So it might look a little hairy. It is by far Dell's most organized, well done game rules. Period. But why he organized it in charts is number one. That's it allows Dell to control information and make sure you see it and you get it. So it's really, really effective. And again, it walks you step by step through every single thing, more than once. He's got a couple of charts that reiterate stuff. Right? He's saying, okay, this is what I want you to do. And then in the next page, he'll remind you, you need to be doing it this. And so it's well done. It's very well done. It is Dell's best work so far, in my opinion. Okay, I think that's that. Hopefully that helps everyone, not just the gentleman who wrote me an email concerned about difficulty and chart flipping. No, the charts are all one page away. You can put your fingers in and you literally can just flip them. To be honest, you could easily put this and photocopy it. You could easily go to your printer and photocopy and laminate and just lay the charts in front of you. Or, to be honest, if you are... you can tear them out. You could literally just, or just remove the coil. You could uncoil them and laminate them or put them in a notebook or something. You don't need to. I mean, the coil-bound book, and I have a paperback. I have the cheapest way to get this is in the paperback that I do. So I do a coil, and a paperback, and Dell does a hardback and a coil, I think, and a paperback. I think Dell may have 3 versions. I don't know, but I do a cheap paperback. It's all color, but it's the cheapest possible way for you to get the game. And then I have this coil. This is my coil. In the paperback, it's going to be more awkward because it's paperback. It's going to have a binding, but you can still hold that game open just as easy, right? But that's probably still more for those who are trying to save a few dollars, right? And saving $5 or $6, right? Okay. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully this does help not just the gentleman who wrote me the email, but everybody out there who's really curious about Gridiron. Bye-bye.